Condemned 2. Honestly, I was debating whether to make a video on this one because the video I made on the first game barely got any views. Because I mean, I thought Condemned was a cult classic and people liked it, but I don't know. I don't know if I released the video in a bad period or people just don't care. I don't know. But I'll make a short video on Condemned 2 as well. And this is an odd game because this is one of those games that improve on some things, but then they also make things worse in other aspects. So it's that kind of sequel that does things not really that good. Even though it tries to improve in a lot of ways, but it falls short. Also on quite a few things. It reminds me, I mean, it makes me think of Ninja Gaiden 2 on Xbox 360. The game followed the same philosophy. It tried to improve some things, but then it ended up making things worse in other aspects. But yeah. Also, it's funny because they came out like in the same year, 2008, if I remember correctly. But yeah, released roughly 3 years after the first one. The game takes place story-wise 11 months after the first one. Ethan is no longer a renowned SCU agent, but instead is an alcoholic, violent, and also homeless because he really hit rock bottom after the first game, which is also the name of the first level, I think, Rock Bottom. His experience changed him. His experience in the previous game has changed him quite a bit. And I mean, it is unclear what he's doing now to live, to survive, other than being a drunkard and fighting psychos or other homeless people, I don't know, on the streets. But yeah, he gets approached by the SCU due to Malcolm Van Horn's last message that was apparently killed by a mysterious murderer. So that's how the game opens up. And it's also one of those games where the characters look different compared to the previous game, mostly due to the engine change and also better modeling, I assume. Because the characters in the first game looked quite bad, honestly. Even for the time it came out, they looked pretty bad and low poly. The most striking one is Rosa, which is Thomas' ex-colleague. The changes are not just graphical, though. They changed the voice as well. I think they changed every voice as well. And I mean, one of the main things that got a big overhaul is the gameplay, both in terms of combat, but also the investigating sections. Now you have actual end-to-end combat as an option in the game. Each trigger on the gamepad will command an arm. Depending on the attacks you perform and the order, you will deal different damage according to the multiplier combo. So there is an actual combo list in this game. Weapons have durability as well, and they can break. They will break after a while. Other than that, there's also more variety in terms of weapon, which is always welcome. I'll say I'll never complain if your game has too many weapons, as long as they serve a purpose. I won't complain. But yeah, you can also throw weapon, so it is good. You can throw them like physically. You also still have the taser, just as in the first game, but you unlock it after some time. I think you unlock it in the second level, I think. So it's another starting weapon, and now it has limited uses. But you can recharge it, at least. Usually you'll find battery packs in lockers scattered throughout the levels. The same with the medikits or extra ammo for weapons. This is another change because in the first game you couldn't find extra munitions for your weapons. So this is definitely a big change, along with the taser being an expendable resource and not infinite. The game is also more action-oriented, way more action-oriented. Fire weapons will be more common as well. So much so that you can even unlock an FPS mode after you finish the game, which I haven't played, but I assume it's just you having a gun all the time. So it's like a proper FPS. And because, I mean, let's not forget this game was made by Monolith, the same devs as Fear. So they like making their FPSs. Now, what I consider the problems actually, mainly it's two things. The combat feels a bit bloated, mostly by the inclusion of certain automated scripted combos that slow everything down. It's almost impossible not to activate them, and honestly, I'm not even sure how you do it exactly because they always come up. I think you have to press block 2 times near an enemy, but it felt like they were activating regardless. So because as long as your combo meter fills up, which is a bar on your HUD screen, and if it is filled up, you will start this automatic combo shit out by itself. The game will start this thing by its own judgment. Because it doesn't matter what you do, even if you just throw a punch, you'll start it. So I'm not sure how you activate them. I think the game tells you that you need to press block 2 times in front of an enemy, but honestly, I'm not sure. Also because you press block pretty often in this fucking game, so it's very easy that maybe you activate them by mistake just because you press block. It's just weird. It's a weird combat. It's a weird mechanic, which I kind of get why they were trying to put it in to make the game a little bit more cinematic, probably. I don't know. I just think it ruins the game because it makes it less playable. They should have, I don't know, they should have implemented it in a different way, which is a shame. Because the combat is fun overall. And the second thing is that you do too many things with double triggers by pressing both triggers at the same time. You block with that, and then you also use your special sonic ability that you unlock in the last level. And you have to press double trigger repeatedly, which is very tedious. And also, yeah, they added a few quick time events, uh, which are also connected with the scripted combos I was talking about earlier. So they just, I don't know what they were trying to do, but they make the combat both uh, more fun and less fun at the same time, because it goes more in depth with all the options they give you in this game, but then they also fall flat. It falls flat because there's this bloating with all these things you can do with double trigger, and then the simul quick time events, and it's ruined. It's ruined because they try to put too many things, to throw too many things in the pot, because I guess they thought they had to make a bigger, better sequel. But if you put too many things into the mix, you end up diluting the whole experience, and it's not always a good thing. Actually, it's almost never a good thing. The investigation sections instead are definitely better, more complex, and now they allow for more freedom, which is something they didn't have in the first game, because they were completely scripted. You couldn't in the first game you couldn't really decide which instrument you could use. It was the game that decided for you, and then it also decided at a specific time that you can use the forensic instruments. Meanwhile, here it's the opposite. They give you complete freedom in this sense, which is good, because it makes the sections more interesting as a whole. And the power-ups are varied, and I think they are scripted. In each stage you unlock a power-up, and it's always the same. One of the power-ups is actually one of the things I didn't mention in my video on the first game, that I think they should have added in the game. There was for a way for you to store your weapons, your fire weapons, and also carry a melee weapon at the same time, which you can do here. One of the power-ups is a holster that allows you to store a fire weapon and then bring another melee weapon or another fire weapon with you at the same time. So I was right with my critique in that sense. Now, when it comes to the story, which is the most controversial aspect of this game, in my opinion, there's quite a few things to discuss. The first game ends with the mention of a cult being involved in the story, but nothing is really explained after that. Here you actually get to know more about it. You actually get to know more than you will want about this cult. Some plot points are actually interesting, but it feels like they lost all subtlety in the storytelling compared to the first game. Another thing that got lost is the sense of loneliness that pervaded the first game. Now you'll have numerous support characters along the way. So not in all levels, but in a lot of levels, you'll have people you can talk to and you can interact, companions, other NPCs, and so on. But at least the atmosphere is, in most of the levels, is still creepy and unsettling, just like in the first game. And as in the first game, there will be some sections where you hallucinate, But in the sequel, they decided to have you fight black goo monsters in those sections, which is probably the aspect I hate the most after the bloated combat. Because these black goo sections just feel generic as fuck. And only included to pad out the game, to make it last a little bit longer. And I mean, I'm gonna be talking a little bit about spoilers in terms of story before I end the video. So if you don't wanna listen to spoilers, stop now. But put in a like and subscribe, because I would like to grow the channel and build a community. So I mean, now the story. What I like about the story, I like that it delves a little bit more into the cult stuff and explains how the Oro, which is the cult's name, were influencing people's behavior, starting from the first game already. And I also like the fact that the serial killer X is still alive, even if it seems like kind of a stretch, considering you shot him in the face. But okay, let's take it at face value. Let's have it not be that determining of a factor in your enjoyment of the game. But yeah, I mean, I like overall the lore behind the Oros, but the problem is that you just get to find out how pretty much all people who have some kind of influence or power in society are pretty much all Oros. Also, your parents were Oros. Like, everybody's a fucking Oro. Even at the end of the game, you see the president of the United States is part of the Oro as well. Like, come on. And also the final level, I don't know, the final level is quite boring. Same thing as the final boss. I thought the final boss was pretty lame. And also janky. But yeah. I think the story tries too hard to go into more of a comic book route. So the story takes itself less seriously because it goes over the top. It tries a bit too hard to be edgy at times with Thomas' demons that haunt him in some situations. But overall, I would say it's still enjoyable. The story is still enjoyable, except for those I don't know, weird choices, like everybody is an Oro. Okay. Everybody is an Oro, but nobody knows about them. So it seems, I don't know, it seems a bit forced. Especially considering, like I said, even the mayor of the city is a Oro. Is an Oro. So come on, like, everybody is an Oro, but nobody knows them. It doesn't make sense. But yeah, I think this is it for the story. So I'll move on to my final considerations on the game. So what to say? This game was kind of a disappointment for me because I really expected a lot from this one. Now, I don't know, I haven't followed the development for this title at all, so I can't tell you if there were problems in this sense. But I don't know, even when it came out, I felt it was quite a disappointment. because I don't know, the gameplay. Some things are fun, but others are really not. While the first one is very simple in its gameplay, and so in its simplicity manages to be very fun. This one tries to add too many things and it makes the whole thing feel less gamey, less fun in a game in the gameplay aspect. So that's one problem. The second problem, like I said, it's the story. But I mean, I guess you could overlook that. I could have overlooked that if the gameplay was perfect, but it's not. So the story as well leaves a little bit to be desired. And also the game feels a bit janky. It's not just the emulator, it was also on the console. Like when I played on console, it felt a little bit janky. Especially how you do too many actions with the same buttons. So, but overall, I think the biggest problem is the way Sega managed this series, because they let the series die. They never re-released the games, never. Actually, they didn't even release the first one on PS3. They only released it on Xbox 360 and PC. And then they released the second one on Xbox 360 and PS3, but not on PC. Like, who was making the decisions? Doesn't make sense to release one game for a console, then the other game on PC, and what? And then not release them ever again. Why? I don't know. I have no idea, honestly. It's just Sega being Sega. So now this game ends up on a cliffhanger, which I will not spoil. I did talk a little bit. I mentioned it in the spoiler section, but yeah. So the series is dead because the third game got cancelled. There are no plans to make a third game. Sega never re-released the games, so the series is dead in the water. The only way you can play this is the first one you can play on PC, 360 or emulator, which is actually the best option if you have a decent PC. In my opinion, it's the easiest option as well. And this one you can only play on 360, PS3 or emulator. And so yeah, I mean, I think they are both worth playing at least once, but I don't know. This series could have been much more, but it has been forgotten to time due mostly to mismanagement, in my opinion. This series should have been bigger, way bigger than it was. But yeah, it's sad because when you see like a new IP like this one that had cool ideas and interesting gameplay, and you see it die out like this, it's sad. It's fucking sad. But yeah, I mean, this is the industry. Not every good game ends up being a success, sadly. So, but yeah, this is it. I think I said everything I wanted to say. And yeah, this video is already too long because I don't want to make long videos anymore because I can't afford to waste all that time. So if I either make long videos and I make one a month, or I make shorter videos and I make at least a couple of weeks. So, but yeah, let me know what you think on the series, if you've played it, if you like it, and please subscribe and put a like. I will really appreciate it. But yeah, thank you for watching, and see you on the next video. Bye bye.